I'm not a very optimistic person, but apart from that, I think that we need to work together. When I say we, I mean Belgrade and Priština, under the auspices, under the facilitation of the European Union and with the great support of all the other big powers, of course, the United States of America. And I think that there is something of national significance for all of us, and that is how to keep peace, stability, and tranquility in our region. That's something of an utmost importance. And then, of course, to see how we can develop our relationship from the varied and to relatively hostile environment to the normal environment, including free flow of goods, capital, people, and services. That's good for the people, and that will have to happen regardless of our different political opinions, regardless of our different political affiliations. I have no doubts about it. Of course, Serbia is not in an easy situation because 22 out of 27 EU countries have already recognized Kosovo's independence according to UN rules, regulations, according to 1244 UN resolution. Of course, that resolution keeps territorial integrity of Serbia, which says completely different to everything that has already been said by big Western powers. And that's why we are not in an easy position. And that's why we would like to see a compromising solution between two parties, between two sides. And we have always been very open for all kinds of different discussions, and we hope that the European Union will, together with us, struggle for that compromise, because there is no other alternative. But if you ask me whether it's going to be easy or whether we are ready for that, you can always hear Albanians from Priština saying, yes, we are ready, we just wait for Serbia to recognize Kosovo, and then we'll recognize Serbia and everything will be solved. Of course, it doesn't work like that, and it's much more complicated. And if you ask us, we think that we should change an atmosphere, that we should implement everything that we have already signed, starting with the first agreement, starting with the Brussels agreement that both sides signed on April 19th, 2013, and gradually to change the overall atmosphere, to get people closer to each other. That's why we appreciated American initiative on this, speaking about economic ties between two factions, between two parties, and that's why we already agreed with Priština under the facilitation of EU on the same issue. Speaking about two societies, I think that we are very far away from the real reconciliation, and it's not formal issues or status issues that will solve it easily, but we'll have to work and not always to see the other side as a true opponent, or dare to say even from time to time true enemy, but to try to find enough possibilities to get closer to each other. That's what I think. Of course, I'm not very much optimistic, but we are very dedicated and will carry on the dialogue process in Brussels, and we'll be absolutely ready to work very hard on this and to see whether we can reach a compromising solution or not. Thank you for listening to me, and sorry that I took a lot of your time. Many thanks for this question. I'm sorry that I'm going at least to spoil a bit the unanimity and consensus on this discussion, because I think something differently. When you speak about Priština's public audience, there are no any ideas of reaching compromising solution. The only thing they're mentioning every single time, and you could hear it even today, it's the end of the process. We need to get recognition from Serbia, and what is the compromising solution, nobody knows, and no one has ever heard. And it means, okay, we're going to get everything, someone will push Serbia to do so. Someone will make more pressure on Serbia, then Serbs will deliver on that, and then everybody will be very happy, and then we'll live in a peace and tranquility for the next 1,000 years. And if you ask them what would be the real issues that they're going to tackle in a way to get closer to a deal, no questions, no answers, and it lasts for more than 2 or 3 years. Speaking about Serbia, and I discussed it with you, dear Cameron, several times, I'm not satisfied with the level of rational or realistic approach from our own people and even from our government, and because I think that I cannot say that we don't say the truth. We do say the truth, but it's still in Serbia not very easy to discuss the realistic options and the rational issues regarding Kosovo, and we still see, and I can confirm that it's pretty much the same with Albanians in Priština, that we see each other as not only political opponents, but sort of national opponents that we should fight with, and this is something that we both should change. That sort of narrative is not very helpful, but we need to be, if you ask me, we need to be, all of us, we need to be more realistic. You know, Miro is putting a lot of efforts. That's why there is something that I didn't hide, why I appreciated that Washington arrangement. Miro is really putting huge efforts into this negotiating process. But, you know, and he's very smart. He's a very smart man, very experienced man. But no one, even he cannot say, okay, what is the carrot? What is that someone might get? You can always hear, you can get closer to the European Union. That's the only sentence which explains everything. You can get closer, it means for the ordinary people, it doesn't mean a lot, because nobody is saying you're going to be a new EU member state. Because there always would be but. There were no buts when Romania, Hungary, and some other countries were joining EU. And it shows not only that they lost attractiveness in the region, but we lost attractiveness within the European Union. That's very fair to be said. On the other side, if we need to speak about, I was listening and I didn't want to react. Abdullah Khoti was just mentioned, I think, 12 times, two countries. And I was asking him not to say that thousands of times during our sessions, during our meetings. I was saying this to him, if you want to get closer to us, don't mention it every single time. We all know what you think. We all know what your attitude is. No, just because of his internal public audience, it has always been the case, two countries, and if you remember any single word that he pronounced, it's two countries that we heard thousands of times today. And if I would say now, okay, there are no two countries, there is only one country that is a member of the United Nations and everything else, would you support me, which is true, in accordance with the resolution 1244. And that's why I'm speaking, coming back, that's why I'm speaking about building confidence, building trust. That's of an utmost importance. That's what we need to work on. We need to respect each other. If they want to say, if they want to diminish Serbian constitution, if they want to say that there is no existing resolution 1244, we can say everything the opposite about them, and or everything the same about them, and then what would be the conclusion? And sorry that I'm saying some different things. It doesn't mean that we are not ready for the compromising solution, because if I say that people in Serbia from time to time, they speak a lot about Kosovo, but nobody really knows what is happening in Kačanik or what is happening in Zrze on the road between Prizren and Đakovica, you know. But okay, there are some other issues. But at the same time, when we speak about compromising solution, can it be a compromise? Serbia will recognize Kosovo, and then Kosovo will recognize Serbia. We don't need that. We are a recognized country by everybody in the world. What we need is a compromising solution. You need to understand Serbia's position. You need to understand Belgrade's position. You need to understand that we need to take care of Serbs in Kosovo. And now coming to the end, and to conclude this, you know, it has passed, I think, 7.5 years. 7.5 years after we signed this Brussels agreement. There was only one obligation for Albanian side, to form or to create Serb community, Serb association. You know what is their response today? The response today is, well, we are not interested in creating that before Serbia will recognize Kosovo's independence. It means that it was not signed in Brussels that we gonna recognize Kosovo's independence, but it was signed and guaranteed by European Union that they're gonna fulfill all their obligations from that agreement. Now they say, we don't care about it, we'll never fulfill it, because it's a part of their internal agenda. We need to know, okay, if we agreed on something, whether we're gonna fulfill it or not. Number two, what we are discussing about, is it a compromising solution or is it more and more pressure on Serbian side? Which is also okay, but we need to define it. Number three, do you really want to create normal relationship between Serbs and Albanians, or you want to win over or to beat in a way Serbs saying, okay, we won after all and we fulfilled our dreams and now Serbia lost everything and that's okay. I think that we both will have to be equally dissatisfied or at least a bit satisfied if we want to reach a compromising solution. And all the other ideas will never ever be successful. And it's not about getting political points. I don't need it. In Serbia, as you know, I have no problems with that. And that's why I'm very ready to discuss all the issues very openly. But the problem is that I see that it's always internal agenda more important than the real strategic issues. But strategically speaking, we are always ready for the dialogue. And I'm not going to repeat all these sentences that all of us learned about a European future and everything that European politicians wanted to hear from us. No, if you want to discuss the substance, we are ready. If you want to discuss strategic issues and the big tactical issues, we are ready for that. But you know, if we want to reach a compromising solution, it has to be a compromise, not a blackmail for Serbia or not something that Serbia will have to fulfill. And then what if we recognize Kosovo? I'm saying that is not going to happen, but if we do that, what Albanians will do? They will say, okay, Serbs, you're not that bad guys as we were saying, and now we are going to recognize you. And Serbia will get what? Sorry that I put this in a very practical and very pragmatic way in front of you, and that's why we insist on this dialogue process, and that's why this Brussels process is of an utmost significance, and I hope that, I know that Miro, I don't say that he is on our side, to the contrary, but I think that he does understand the situation, that he knows that we need to work harder, that we need to work a lot, and that both sides have to understand the real difficulties of the moment, and we need to stabilize the region, and we need to keep the peace. At least, I always say, whatever we speak, whatever we say to each other, it's always better to have talks, to have this kind of conversation, than not to have it. Because in the recent years, we had this kind of discussions, we had this kind of talks under the facilitation of the European Union, and that helped us preserving peace and preserving people's lives. That is something very important, and sorry that I took a lot of your time once again. Thank you. I'll do my best not to make the real political statement and to be as much sincere as it is possible. I think that we need to work hard, to work much harder, and that we all, including all important, all big international players, that will have to try to find and to reach a compromising solution, which means, if necessary, doing many things out of the box in resolving this problem. And I'm not referring to any adjustments of border lines or administrative lines or something like that. I'm speaking about different political ideas, different political issues, and we need to put a lot of efforts in front of us and to be more strategic than tactically political oriented. That's it, and we are going to be fully engaged into this process, and will invest, as I have already said, huge efforts to reaching this compromising solution.